All right, here we are with lesson 2 on solving systems by substitution. Remember, when we are solving systems, what we're looking for is where the two equations, where the two lines, where they meet, okay? The intersection point on our graphs. All right, so with two linear equations, like what we're going to be working with today, that will always be a single point. All right, so one of the ways we can do this, we looked at the other day graphing. Now we're going to use algebra, and we're going to use a method called substitution. So solving a system with substitution, this is one algebraic method that we're going to be able to use, and it's a very important property of equality that we will see, we'll use very often this year and in the years to come. All right, so first thing you want to do is take and consider the system below here with solution 3, -2. Now I'm telling you exactly what the solution is to this system. It is the point 3, -2. That's where these two lines are going to intersect. All right, let's just show that that's a solution. Well, we've done this already. We are going to simply put in the x and the y values. Oops. So y is -2. I'm going to plug them into this equation, so that's going to tell me 9 plus a -2 equals 7, which means 7 equals 7, and that's true. So the first one worked. Let's try the second one and make sure I'm putting them in the right spots. So this should say -2 equals 3 minus 5. So -2 equals -2, and that checks. So 3, -2 is a solution to this system. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take, this one here says, let me erase this. This bottom equation here says y equals x minus 5. So what this method is going to do for us is it's going to tell us that anywhere I see the variable y, I can put x minus 5. These two things are equal. So I'm going to take and I'm going to plug this x minus 5 in for y in the top equation. So it'll look like this. First it says 3x plus y equals 7. So I'm going to plug in where the y is. I'm going to write an x minus 5. So I have 3x plus, and now instead of y, since y and x minus 5 are equal, I can replace it with it. So I'm going to replace the y with x minus 5. I like to always use parentheses when I do it too. And nothing else changed. So again, you see, all I did was where the y was originally in the first equation, I now replaced that, I substituted in x minus 5. Okay, so now I can solve this equation for x. So let's work this through. So 3x plus x minus 5 equals 7. So that's going to tell me 3x plus x is 4x minus 5 equals 7. Let me add 5 to both sides. So 4x equals 12. Dividing by 4 to get this x by itself tells me x equals 3. Well, good, because that's what x is supposed to equal. All right, so now let's try to find y. What do I do to find the y value? Well, I would simply take this x equals 3 and substitute it into one of these two equations up here. Now I know one of the variables. So it doesn't matter which one I use. I could use the top or bottom. I think the bottom one might be easier. So let's say y equals, it was x minus 5. I know x is 3 now, so y equals 3 minus 5. And that tells me y equals -2. Now just to show that this would work in the other one, let me do it in that one too. So again, I know x equals 3, so the other equation was 3x plus y equals 7. So 3 times 3 plus y equals 7. So 9 plus y equals 7. Subtracting 9 tells me y equals -2. So I get the same value for y if I plug it into either equation. You just want to take a look and use the easier of the two. to plug your number back into. So what does that tell me? Well, that tells me that the solution to the system is x equals 3 and y equals negative 2. In other words, it's the point 3, negative 2, which we already knew from the original question. So the big thing here to remember is whenever I have two things that are equal, they can be replaced by each other. Okay, just like we put in a 3 for x here, we could put in an x minus 5 for a y. Okay, so equals are always equal. Let's solve the following system using substitution. Now, don't forget, we have to find both variables, okay? So, let's start with this first one. It says 2x minus 3y equals negative 1, and y equals x minus 1. So notice here, y equals this, x minus 1, which means anywhere that I see a y, I can replace it with x minus 1. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to take this x minus 1 and I'm going to substitute it in for y in the first equation. So that should now say 2x, well, it starts off by saying 2x minus 3y equals negative 1. Now I'm going to make the substitution. 2x minus 3 times anywhere I saw y, I need to put in this x minus 1. Equals negative 1. So again, all I did was where I saw the variable y, I now replaced it with x minus 1. I made a substitution. And the reason I'm doing this is to get this down so there's only one variable in this equation now. Okay, and I can solve equations that have one variable. We need to be careful here and use our good algebra skills. This tells me I have 2x. This I need to distribute. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3, right? Remember, we do it like this. Negative 3 times a negative 1 is going to be positive 3. And that equals a negative 1. So let's combine like terms. Negative 2x and negative 3x. When I combine them, I get a negative x plus 3 equals negative 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I want to try to get my variable to be positive. So I have negative x plus 4 equals 0. And when I add the x to the other side, that will tell me 4 equals x. Alright, so using substitution, I just found out what my variable x was. Well, now I need to use this information to find my y. Okay, remember, it is a coordinate. It is x and y that we're looking for here. That's the solution. So I need to plug this back into the original, one of the originals. Well, it looks to me like the bottom one is the easier of the two. So let's do that. Let's say y equals x minus 1. Now I can plug in a 4 for x. So y equals 4 minus 1, and that tells me y equals 3. So the solution to this system should be the point 4, 3. Let's just double check, make sure that works. So it should say 2 times 4 minus 3 times 3 equals negative 1. So 8 minus 9 equals negative 1. Negative 1 equals negative 1. So that's true. Let's try the bottom equation. That said y equals x minus 1. So 3 equals 4 minus 1. In other words, 3 equals 3. And that worked. So the point 4, 3 is definitely the solution to this system. All right, let's try another one here. So I have y equals 5x minus 7 and 3x equals 12 minus 2y. All right, well, this one's already set up on the top. It says y equals this. So why don't I take this and plug it in for y in the other equation. So I start off with 3x equals 12 minus 2y. When I substitute that in, I have 3x equals 12 minus 2 times 5x minus 7. So again, I just substituted 5x minus 7 in where I saw a y. So when I simplify this, 3x equals 12. Now again, I need to distribute. This is a negative 2, negative 2 times 5x, and negative 2 times negative 7. Negative 2 times 5x is going to say negative 10x, and negative 2 times negative 7 is a positive 14. Okay, be careful with our algebra here. So this tells me now I have, let me combine some like terms. I have a positive 12 and a positive 14. So that's going to tell me I have negative 10x plus 26. Let me get my x's all on one side by adding, let me add 10x to both sides. That's going to tell me I have 13x equals 26. Dividing by 13 now on both sides, we'll get x by itself and tell me x equals 2. All right, once again, now I can use substitution to go back. I now know x equals 2. So why don't I pick whichever one of these I think is easier. I don't know, let's call it the top one here again. So let's say y equals, I now know x equals 2. So let me start with y equals 5x minus 7. I will make a substitution in. So y equals 5 times 2 minus 7. So y equals 5 times 2 is 10 minus 7, which tells me y equals 3. So this solution should be the point 2, 3. I can check that by plugging 2 and 3 in for one of the equations. Let me start with the first one. Y equals 5x minus 7. So it's going to say 3 equals 2 times, or 5 times 2, doesn't matter, minus 7. So 3 equals 10 minus 7, so 3 equals 3. That's true. Let's plug it into the other equation just to double check. And so we have 3 times 2 equals 12 minus 2 times 3. So 6 equals 12 minus 6, and 6 equals 6. That's also true. So the point 2, 3 is the solution to this system. All right, so the things to be taking out of this, the important pieces are, we are always looking for two things that are equal. So y equals something, or you could also do it the other way. X equals some sort of piece that has a y in it. And we're going to simply substitute in for that thing that's equal. So in this case, we knew y equaled this, so we plugged it in for y. Same thing here. We knew y equaled this x minus 1, so we plugged it in for y in the other equation. This is called the method of substitution. And we will, as I said at the beginning of this, we will be using this quite a bit for the rest of the year. All right, we will work on this a lot more in class tomorrow. I will see you then.